Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to Kisumu County. The Great Debaters Contest is on. We're continuing with our coverage on the Sustainable Development Goals. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Our motion today is energy production is the dominant contribution to climate change. We have Maranda High School going against St. Peter's Disii Secondary School. Mariam, who's going to take it away?
As always, the students will answer that for us. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
We have a single mission to protect the planet and hand it over to the next generation. Evan Subari from Maranda High School, here to propose the motion that energy production is the dominant contribution to climate change. So, what is energy production? Energy production is the process of producing energy for various reasons, for example, industrial reasons, for companies, or for home use. The types of energies in the world, they include chemical energy, thermal energy, kinetic energy, nuclear energy, solar energy, and rotational energy. And what is climate change? Climate change is unsustained alteration of Earth's normal weather patterns caused by global warming. One would ask, what is global warming? Let me try and explain to you what global warming is. So, as companies or energy-producing companies produce their energy, they release gases. These gases include carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, and nitrogen oxide. So these gases are released to the environment. And then, as the sun radiations get into the earth, they are used and some of it is reflected. As they are reflected, these gases that were produced during energy production form something like a blanket that deter the gases from exiting. So what happens? The radiations come back and increase the temperatures, which then results to global warming. And one may ask, how does global warming affect our climate change? Global warming leads to glaciers and polar ice melting. What or how is this relevant to this motion? How are glaciers and polar ice melting relevant? So this is how it is relevant. Millions of people on the planet depend on water supply during dry seasons. Therefore, sea levels could rise, and islands and people living in lowland areas, their land could get submerged underwater. Simple. So global warming leads to glaciers and polar ice melting. Therefore, your home, my dear judge, could sink underwater due to climate change, caused by energy-producing companies. And so, I would go back and give you my research. 67% of US total energy is brought about by use of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels include carbon-emitting coal, oil, and natural gas. These fossil fuels are the highest emitters of carbon, which causes our barrier that prevents the radiations from exiting. And 43% of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere are produced by two countries, China and the United States. And this is brought about by energy production. So you can't come here and dispute the fact that energy production is the dominant contributor to climate change, because it is evident. And we can feel the effects of climate change in our lives due to the droughts we've experienced recently.
Thank you. St. Peter's Disii, we'll hear your opening statements. You have 3 minutes.
Let us admit the fact that some of the activities that we do as human beings contributes greatly to climate change, rather than hiding by the fact that energy production is the dominant contribution to climate change. According to from the Royal Society of the year 2010, proves that climate change is caused by man-made activities like setting up of irrigation schemes. Irrigation schemes has immediate effect in our environment in that it provides moisture to the atmosphere, inducing atmospheric instabilities, increasing precipitation. And when this is not controlled, our SDG goal, number 13, for taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impact will not have achieved. A team in the Department of Civil Environmental Engineering investigates the impact of large-scale irrigation on rainfall pattern in northern Nigeria. The climate in northern Nigeria, and because we know that Disii irrigation is located in northern Nigeria, the climate around there was found to have drastic changes, meaning that there was a lot of rainfall because of the size of the irrigation there. Because we know that Disii irrigation is one of the largest irrigation projects in the world. We have a co-author by the name Alfatin Al-Tahir said that, and I quote, "Large-scale development of irrigation system is a good example of human activity that has changed land cover and other environment activities globally." Okay, take for instance, what will happen when we clear our vegetation? When we clear our vegetation, it means that we will reduce the disposal system of carbon dioxide, since we know very well the importance of plants in absorption of carbon dioxide. When we clear our vegetation, we reduce the disposal system. And according to the study written by great scientist Elmer Robinson and R.C. Robbins, said that accumulation of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will lead, it will destroy the globe, it will destroy and deplete the ozone layer. And what will happen when the ozone layer is depleted? Obviously, you know the effect. When the ozone layer is depleted, it will lead to increase in temperatures. I would like to finish by urging you that let us not be blinded. Let us not try to hide our mistakes and carry out activities like setting up irrigation schemes and blaming energy production to contribute climatic changes. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear rebuttals beginning with Maranda High School. You have 3 minutes.
The biggest risk to African development is climatic change. These were the words by the CEO of Unilever, Paul Pollyman. And I hereby come, Joe Matthew from Maranda High School, to propose the motion that states energy resources is the dominant factor contributor to climatic change. We hereby agree that some of the human activities bring about climatic factors. Like example, my opponent has mentioned about irrigation. But if you look at energy production, it is a dominant contributor. A good example being wood. She has mentioned about the issue of deforestation. And that supports why we say energy resources is the main contributor to climatic changes. Deforestation brings about export of wood, and this export of wood, a good example being Congo, which exports its wood to Germany, and this wood is going to be used as an energy resource. So when she says wood is also another human activity being used as an energy resource, she's right. Because wood in itself is an energy resource, and the energy resource is used by the country as an energy producing agent. And according to the National Resource Council, which was done in the year 1970 to protect the environment, at this time, globalization, at this time, global warming was not an issue. But today, it's an issue to all of us, and it's an issue that needs to be addressed. Because according to their statistics, in 2013-2014, natural gas consumption is expected to increase by 16.4%, and coal is expected to increase by 5.6%, and this is going to bring about climatic conditions, because a country like the United States of America is going to use coal and natural oil for the next 20 years. And that will lead us to year around 2030. So it means energy producing, a good example being coal and natural oil, is going to bring climatic conditions to our country and to the world at large. Another example is if we try and compare fossil fuels, Coal accounts for around 67% of the total energy. Oil accounts for around 17%. Renewable energy accounts for 16%. Nuclear power accounts for 13% of the total energy. And from this, we get fossil fuels are the main energy contributors to climatic factors. An example being coal, that when it's let out to the air, it releases toxic substances that are harmful to our own lives. People, listen to me. Energy production is the dominant contributor to climatic change.
Thank you. St. Peter's, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
You've said that carbon dioxide released in the atmosphere is one of the toxic substances. Did you know why the annual trees planting in Kenya was established? The annual trees planting in Kenya today is all about the purification of that carbon dioxide, and that's why we are being cautioned against deforestation. Did you know something about Lake Naivasha? What is happening in Lake Naivasha today? Initially, Lake Naivasha used to have 2 cycles. What about today? Have you asked yourself what is happening in Lake Naivasha today? There is massive deforestation in the Aberdares ranges, which is the main source and where the rivers and the streams, which is extruding their water into Lake Naivasha, and now they are drying up. Another thing is that you've talked about coal, and one of the emissions of coal you've spoken about is all about the carbon. First of all, do you know that carbon is being emitted? Yes. But through the human activities, like the one I'm speaking about today, over the deforestation in Kenya and deforestation in the Aberdares ranges, is the one which is making the accumulation there to be more and more rampant. If the human doesn't cut down trees today, and take in mind that if we doesn't cut trees in our ranges and in our forests today, then the carbon dioxide we are speaking about won't be there. Trees are there to assist us in the carbon dioxide emission into the atmosphere. I want to tell you something else, that there is a farmer, at the same time an agriculturalist around Naivasha, who said that initially the crop production in Naivasha was very high, and they used to get a high yield harvest, but today it is not happening. The deforestation taking place there is not all about the fuel, as they have said. Do you know that even the government is involved in the deforestation? The government today is selling out the land in a corrupt manner. Today, the government is taking the woods and selling them without caring. For that, take note, not only the woods being cut in the ranges or forests are for fuel production, but they are also for settlement, the timber merchants and everything. For that reason, therefore, carbon dioxide being released in the atmosphere does not cause the climatic change, but it is deforestation happening, and you have to say deforestation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, audience. The proposition have been asked to give sources for their statistics and their information, and the opposition have been asked what is the cause of climate change, if not energy production, to cite a few causes. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you for this opportunity. The question asked was our sources for the information we have been giving you. There are very many sources for this information. First, we have the Institute for Energy Research, the Fermilab, the Wikipedia, and so on and so forth. They call it global warming. I don't know what it means. I see my world is changing, bursting at the seams. I see the ice caps melting. Watch as the sea level rises. I watch as a species slowly dies. I see the climate changing, not working as it should. I know this won't be easy, but I know it isn't good. I know the cause of this. I know the solution too. But the moon has no voice. Only we do. According to the Institute for energy consumption is equal to about 93% of energy production. Therefore, we can say that the production is nearly equal to the consumption, which is 30% coal, 33% petroleum, 24% natural gas, 4% nuclear energy, 7% hydroelectricity, and 2% other renewable sources of energy. This means that we pit 91% of unclean and renewable energy against 9% of clean energy alone. Therefore, this means that most of energy production is harmful to our environment. It does cause climate change. According to The Guardian, only 90 companies have caused 2/3 of man-made global warming emissions, such as Chevron, Exxon, and BP, which are all energy-producing enterprises. Turning thermometers scarlet, mercury climbs. Volcanic pregnancy triggers liquid discharge, orange boils heat lakes, killing fish schools, warm air breastfeeds in ice caps, white peaks are circled till blue lagoons overflow while human hands are tossed in the radioactive air, waving a white flag. Energy can be made efficient and cleaner, just not how we do it. Therefore, all should stick to the Paris Accord because there is no plan B, for we do not have planet B. Therefore, some of the solutions to these problems we are experiencing right now could be production of clean energy. Where do we find clean energy? Solar energy is perfectly clean. Wind energy is clean. Hydroelectricity is also clean, though with a bit of specifications. But through that, we can achieve both energy production and a clean environment. Thank you.
St. Peter's, you have 3 minutes to respond.
I've been thinking. I've seriously been thinking. The proposers, when you came from wherever you were sitting, that is, and you came and sat here, you used some energy. Did that affect the climate? Oh, it's about to rain because of that. I was almost forgetting. The question is, if energy production is not the dominant cause of climate change, then what is it? And the answer is, it's a combination of the rest. The other causes of climate change, that is, for instance, we've talked about deforestation. We have talked about irrigation schemes and many others. Particularly, if you told me that energy production is a cause of climate change, I would say yes. But again, if you told me that energy production is the dominant cause of climate change, I will confidently say no. Why? Because there are other sources of climate change that can be given the tag dominant, apart from energy production. Take, for instance, volcanicity. Volcanicity produces toxic gases, for instance, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, which accumulate on the troposphere, creating a dark cloud. This cloud shades the area directly under it, causing reduction in temperature of such areas. If we are to realize Sustainable Development Goal number 7, which aims at ensuring access to reliable, access to sustainable, access to modern energy, we should encourage countries like Somalia, countries that have unexploited reserves of oil and natural gas, countries that have untapped hydrated power, countries that have extensive geothermal energy, to start embarking on renewable sources of energy. These renewable sources like geothermal power production, sources like wind production of energy, sources like solar energy, which Somalia has a lot of sunshine. I know you know about that. Let us stop hiding behind energy production. Let us make energy production efficient. Let us make energy production effective to our climate. And as such, I say, energy production is not the dominant cause of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Final statements, Maranda High School, you have a minute.
The question remains, what next for a warming planet? What next is going to complete poverty, which is a major contributor to climatic change? We are the first generation, and it is time to bring humanity into purpose. We are trying to say energy production is the main dominant contributor to climatic change. Global warming has brought about drought, floods, and in itself, intensive rainfall, tropical cyclones. People, listen to the voice of reason. Energy production is the dominant contributor to climatic change. Each day we delay to take action means more damage to our own lives. A good example being the Sahara Desert, which is slowly spreading to our country. Why must we devalue humanity? Humanity comes first, better than producing energy production. That is why we reaffirm to goal number 7 when we say we are going to provide sustainable and clean energy for the world so that we can be kept safe from the fossil fuels that give dirty energy. It's collective responsibility. It's collective endeavor to provide for the future generation. Thank you.
St. Peter's Disii, you have a minute as well.
Assumption will kill us. We had already killed the past, and we are continuing killing the future. If we continue expressing ourselves like this, then where will we be? Where will we land? Instead of us saying that it is energy production which is causing, or which is the dominant contribution to climate change, then let us say that it is the climate change that brings about the changes in energy production. Take, for instance, the water levels in our dams. If the water levels lowers, then it will force the people using the hydroelectric power to come from it and use other sources of energy. So it is the climate change that brings about the changes in energy production, and not the energy production which is the dominant change as you are saying. So for that reason, therefore, let's open our minds, our eyes, and say it is not the energy production which is dominant, but it is now it is the climate change that is making us to move from one energy to another energy. Thank you.
For Maranda, I want to also comment what you did. For Evans, good case building. Then you talked about the statistics of 67% and the likes. You want, anytime you give your facts, to give your sources. Joe, good speaker always, very outstanding, very good cross-examination. Then you gave some percentages as well that were repeated as well by Brian, similar percentages. And sometimes you don't want to repeat the same thing, Brian, so that you can save on time. Brian, I think you're a good speaker. All you need to work is on your delivery, okay? And this is a practice that is done. Nobody was born doing this, so you have to practice more so that you can become outstanding. For St. Peter's, Sharon, fair attempt as a start. You talked about vegetation clearing and the likes, so you wanted not to give submissions that will be cross-examined. Otieno, the question is cross-examination. That's your role, is it? So when you come here, you want to start by cross-examining. So just work on your style as well. That's Floyd, is it? Very confident. I think you're very confident as a speaker. However, your start wasn't very well, and you can still work on and build that, all right? So all the best to the two teams.
St. Peter's Disii Secondary, the judges awarded you 66%. Please give them a round of applause. Maranda High School, the judges saw it fit to award you 69%. You're a winner for the debate.
Congratulations to Maranda High School and of course St. Peter's Disii put up a good fight. Give us your feedback on social media, #GDC for SDGs. I have been your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyombok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.